Okay, could definitely be a new revenue source for these companies. Thanks for joining us, Mark. Well, staying with the tech sector and one of its biggest stories, Apple's recent fall from grace. The company has faced major challenges from losing a patent lawsuit to increased competition. The stock has fallen by more than 25% in the past 3 months. Now, tonight we speak to Brian White. He's an analyst at Topeka Capital Markets. He has covered the tech sector for over 13 years. Brian, thanks for joining us tonight.
Sure.
Now, Apple seems to be one of those stocks, it's sort of like an expensive handbag. It costs a lot of money, but you pay that price because you know it's going to hold its value over the long term because it's of high quality. But we've seen the stock fall by more than 25% over these last 3 months. Is it safe to say that investors should be concerned right now?
So if you look at the stock today on a valuation basis, it's trading at 7 times X cash. So it's actually valuation basis, it is cheap. It had a great run over the summer. After the iPhone 5 came out, a lot of concerns started to surround the stock. You had the company talk about some gross margin pressure in the December quarter. But I think really what you're seeing is a lot of tax-related selling. Because you can take your profits today rather than next year at a higher rate. And the profits aren't just this year, it's been over a long, long period of time.
Okay, but there were other companies that also have seen large stock rises, and we haven't seen necessarily a big sell-off in those shares as well. I mean, some of the concerns among some of the other analysts is that the iPhone 5 is losing market share to Samsung and some of the Android-operated devices. How concerned should we be about the competition?
So I think, if you look at market share in the third quarter, Apple's market share on smartphone is 15%. I do expect it to go up in December quarter. I think really what I think about longer term is Samsung is really the big competitor out there. They have about 32% market share in smartphones. And the big operating system competitor is Android. So Apple has the luxury of actually making the hardware and software where really no one else in the industry does in a significant way. And that is the big differentiator between Apple and the competitors.
The hardware, okay. So, and then speaking about China, because we saw gangbuster sales, it's a record weekend for Apple.
Yep.
More than 2 million iPhone 5 devices sold over 3 days. How important is China to Apple's growth going forward?
It's a great question. It's very important. So Greater China, which includes Hong Kong and Taiwan and mainland China, is 15% of their sales. China itself, when you look at the mobile internet, has over 1 billion wireless subscribers, over 200 million 3G, going to probably 350 million next year. Apple's going to be a big part of that. So this was a huge number over the weekend, and what we call it is Apple fever in China, which I really started to pick up in the fall of 2010.
Okay, so definitely watch China when it comes to Apple's success.
Exactly.
Thank you so much for joining us. That was Brian White, analyst at Topeka Capital Markets.